Hello, everyone. This episode of Unexplained Arkansas is sponsored by King Yodeler Tattoos. King Yodeler specializes in black and gray, color realism art, and also custom hand-drawn tattoos. King Yodeler believes tattoos can be as unique as the lives we live. Consultations are free. To book your consultation or to discuss your tattoo ideas, you can go to www.kingyodeler.com or email Jody at kingyodelertattoos@gmail.com. All of King Yodeler's contact information will be supplied in our show's descriptions, and we will be shared on our social medias. Go follow and like King Yodeler Tattoos on their Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram as well. I myself have viewed some recent tattoo work, and the art is absolutely amazing. Go check it out.
Hello and welcome to Unexplained Arkansas. This is Amber.
And this is Lisa.
And you are listening to our 47th episode, the Hornibrook Mansion Haunted Empress Hotel. That was a mouthful.
That was a mouthful. Yay! And you said 47, right?
Well, I did, yes. We are 47 today. Mm-hmm. Not literally 47. I'm not 47. I'm younger. We're younger than that.
We're younger. Much younger.
Yes. So, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, we had a big weekend that we'll talk about later.
We did. We had an awesome weekend, and if you people look at our socials, you know that we had a fun time.
Yes,
lots going on, and lots of fun this week. We got 3 more sleeps until our meet and greet.
Yes,
in Hot Springs.
People.
Yes,
we are very excited about that.
Yes, shout out to Black Ribbon Books. Yay.
And if you don't know where that's at, it's in the basement of the Arlington Hotel in Hot Springs. You can just go through the basement entrance that is right off of, what street is that? What's that main street?
Ooh, you got me, girl.
Is it Main or Spring? I don't know what it is. We'll figure it out and we'll put the address.
Is it called like Hot Springs National Park Street? I don't know.
I think you just made that up. I don't know.
Whatever.
We will put the location of Black Ribbon Books for sure on Facebook. We do have a flyer. I'll just look on the flyer. Yeah.
We've been posting.
Oh, it's on Central Avenue. I just Googled it. It's Central. Yes.
Central.
Yeah. So it is 239 Central Avenue.
That sounds much better than my Hot Springs National Park Avenue.
when you just try to make up something that sounds good. No, I'm kidding.
Yes.
No.
True. Okay. So yay. So you are. Oh no. Sorry. We're going to talk about our Patreons.
Yes, we are. Speaking of which, one of our favorite Patreon people, Henry, just let all of our peeps know that they are putting up the sign for Spirit Halloween in North Little Rock over in the, what is that, the village shopping, Lake Village?
The Lake Village. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So yeah, everybody, Spirit Halloween, it's coming, the Lake Village area somewhere.
It makes me so happy. Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait. So
yeah.
Plus, we have so many exciting October things, spooky season things coming that we will tell our listeners about. So yeah. We're excited.
This sign he posted is cracking me up. It says Pro Nails, Honey Baked Ham, the Mighty Crab, and Spirit Halloween.
It's in a very eclectic Lake Village shopping center.
Yes, definitely. Okay, well, who's our Patreons, our new Patreons?
Yes, I'm so excited. So we've had 2 new people join us just in the matter of days since we last recorded, and it is shout out to Matthew, and he is a big listener, just bought a shirt. He's super excited. And then we have Jenny, and Jenny is awesome, and we love them both, and we're just so thankful to our Patreons.
Yay! Yes.
Patreons. Yeah,
Yes.
Patreons. So.
And if you would like to be part of our Patreon pack, you can follow the link on our Facebook or our website and join for as little as $1 up to $5, and we appreciate your support.
Yes, and you can get some extra content. So.
Yes, and we do have our next episode of Scary Heifers, which is our sister podcast, coming out next week, and it is going to be about Children of the Corn.
Ooh,
I can't wait.
I know.
I'm getting my jokes ready already, so
yeah. It's a good one. I like Stephen King, but
me too. It'll be fun. So if you like movies, scary movies, that kind of thing, you'll love Scary Heifers. That's the pod for you. But you have to be our Patreon to do that. Yes.
Yay. So yay. Were you ready to get started?
I am. I'm excited, and I'm really wondering what you're going to say.
Yeah, I've got like 8 pages worth, so it's a lot. I found a lot more information than I thought about the Hornibrook Mansion. So
okay,
yes,
well,
but
good.
I'm very excited. So it's okay. All right. Okay. Well, I'm gonna get rolling. Okay.
Well, start out by telling them where it's located.
Oh, it's part of it. I promise.
Okay.
It's in my script.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Okay, so today's episode covers the Hornibrook Mansion, the haunted Empress Hotel, but first, what I like to do is go back in time to the history of the mansion and Little Rock. Okay, so the Hornibrook Mansion Empress Hotel is located in Little Rock, Arkansas. Little Rock is our state's capital, if you didn't know, or if you're listening from the many countries. It is also the largest city in Arkansas currently, with 202,000 as of the 2020 census. And honestly, I didn't realize that myself, because I knew that like Fayetteville was growing a lot, but technically I guess Fayetteville is large, but I looked at their census and it was like 99,000. So Little Rock still has the biggest population as far as the city. Okay. Yes, that was super interesting. According to the internet, Little Rock, whose name came from the French explorer Jean-Baptiste Bernard de la Harpe. I'm sure I said that like all kinds of crazy, so we'll see on that. But
you acted like you were right on top of it, so that's good.
Well, good. So he basically explored the area, and in 1722, because of rock formations along the river there, he just came up with that name, Little Rock. So, and Little Rock was...
And then Reba McEntire made it famous. Little Rock, afraid I'm gonna have to take you off. Sorry, I'm in a Reba mood. I'm in a country mood.
Are you wearing a Reba shirt?
Not today. Not today.
Maybe something for the future. So, so Little Rock was incorporated in 1831. As far as the actual city goes, before that, it had been like the Little Rock Post area or whatever they called it. But that was still, so 1831 was still 5 years before Arkansas was actually considered a state and part of the Union. So that's very interesting, I thought. Mm-hmm. So 30 years later, in 1867 or so, following the end of the Civil War, James Hudson Hornibrook and his wife, Margaret McCauley Hornibrook, moved to Little Rock. And they had been living in the Memphis area, which is where Margaret was from. So James was born and lived originally in Toronto. And some of the articles that were written about them stated that they came directly from Canada as far as when they moved to Little Rock, but that just wasn't true. So there's other information that I ended up finding that definitely states that the Hornibrooks met in Memphis and they were there before they moved to Little Rock. So Does that make sense? Okay. Yep. So, and I'll tell you how I came up with that for sure. Okay. So at the time, the Hornibrooks, when they moved, at the time they would have had one daughter named Leicester. It's like Leicester, Leicester, and they called her Lessie. Thank goodness, because the other's just hard to say. So, and Lessie was born in 1865, and then they also had one son already named Matthew, and he was born in 1867. And I did locate his death certificate, which was very interesting, and I'll tell you about that.
Oh, wow.
It did show that he was born. It showed where he was born in Memphis. So in 1867, they were still in Memphis, so they would have moved right after he was born. So evidently, Matthew, and he lived to be about 60-something years old. He died in 1934, and his death certificate showed the cause of death is carbolic acid poisoning.
Wait. What is that?
It's self-inflicted.
Uh-huh.
So typically this is where my mind goes. I'm thinking that he breathed in carbon dioxide. I believe that's carbon dioxide poisoning. But it said carbolic acid poisoning, self-inflicted, and they did show that it was a suicide on his death certificate. So,
oh, wow.
I know, so sad. And he was living in St. Louis. So he had made himself, he was born in Memphis, he lived in Little Rock, and he made his way to St. Louis, and that's where he passed. But it does reflect, like I said, him being born in Memphis definitely shows that the family was in Memphis before moving on to Little Rock. So that kind of disputes there are a lot of articles about that, and a lot of things said that, James Hornibrook came directly from Canada. So, and that just, like I said, wasn't the case. So it said that James, upon moving to Little Rock, he entered into a partnership with a man named Miles Q. Townsend. And for the next 22 years or so, they co-owned and operated a saloon and a liquor distribution company. And this company was actually located at 109 to 111 North Main, which is now the location of Guess. This is
Empress?
Little Rock. No, this is Little Rock on Main. So
I don't know.
So what do you think is there now? It's by the river and through the woods. No, I'm just kidding. It is the State House Convention Center currently.
Oh, neat. So that used to be...
So that originally, all of that area down there by the river was kind of Little Rock proper. And actually, we'll kind of get into this a little later, but at that time, Little Rock was maybe only a mile or so big, okay? So anything further out would have been like the outskirts of town. And so this was like town. But yeah, so his business and his saloon and his liquor distribution company was like on the river, basically. So according to one article, their efforts expanded in 1887 whenever they launched the Little Rock franchise of the Edison Electric Light Company. So that would have been a big deal, I think. Yeah. So during this time between him getting to Little Rock and, building his family, so he would have had another daughter named Margaret. They called her Maggie. Hornibrook Emerson, and she came along in 1869. And then they had another boy in 1874 named James Townsend Hornibrook. So he would have been named after his father, but with a different middle name. And this is interesting about James, so the son. So James Townsend, he would become a professional baseball player in Little Rock.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so baseball looked to be an integral part of possibly the family line. So even, I think, going down from James' son, I think there was a lot of baseball players in there. So baseball was kind of their sport. So, anywho, sorry about that. Elle came in. So, after being a professional baseball player there in Little Rock, he went into owning a roofing company in later years, and we'll kind of discuss more family later. So, another boy would come along to the family in 1878, and his name, they just named him Little Hooper, but he wouldn't make it for like more than a year. So he came along in 1878, but his death date was 1879. Isn't that horrible?
Oh, that's awful.
So they did lose a little one. So out of, I mean, how many children is that? 5? So they did lose one. In one of the articles that I did find, it said that they had lost Matthew at a very young age, but that just wasn't true. I guess they just had the information wrong because it was the little Hooper. Because Matthew lived well into his 60s, but he was the one that committed suicide in St. Louis. So by 1880, James had amassed quite a fortune. And him and his partner's business was just doing great. But evidently there was another man in town that James was a bit jealous of, who was also quite wealthy and also in the liquor business. So this man's name was Angelo Marie. So Angelo and his wife Jenny in 1880 they had been building a luxurious home located on Scott Street in Brock. We all know this home. We all know this home as the mansion featured at the beginning of your favorite show.
No way. Designing Women?
Yes. So,
wow.
Yes. So this home, Angelo and Jenny's home, was built in 1880. And originally, I guess their last name is pronounced Marie, but it's Marre. So after the house was purchased down the line from other people in the future, they have now called the house the Villa Marie.
The Villa Marie. Oh, wow.
Yes. And so, yes, so it is at the beginning of Designing Women.
Yep, I love that show.
So basically, Angelo was finishing his house in 1881, and James is just watching this, and he sees, he's just like, this Angelo, how dare he? So he knows exactly what Angelo did with his house. So now he's going to make sure that he builds his house 10 times better. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So that was, according to all the articles, that was his motivation in his venture. So yes, interesting. So James, again, in the effort to make his house, far more amazing than Angelo's, so he went right to work in about 1881, and he hired architects Max Orlop and a Casper Kusener. So it looked like, I did look up these architects, it looks like Max had also been the architect on the Pulaski County Courthouse around the same time. So this is probably why James sought him, because he had just built the courthouse.
Yeah.
So the home's design was Queen Anne style, Victorian era architecture. And it had, the biggest thing with James is that he wanted all the work and the materials to be Arkansas based or Arkansas done. So as far as all the work, the home took around 7 years to construct, and it cost, it stated, around $20,000.
7 years?
7 years to build this
house.
That's
a long time.
Yeah, so they started in 1881, but they would not finish until 1887 or so. And really they started in 80, so it was 1887. So at the time, of course, I'm thinking $20,000 is not a lot of money, even with inflation. However, when you put it in this perspective, so the average home in 1880 only cost $1,000. So we're talking he spent 20 times that amount. And that's, if people could afford a home. So, they were spending $1,000. So along with having an extravagant, beautiful house, James really wanted his home to be super modern as well. So he wanted all that most of the homes in the period didn't have. He wanted the indoor plumbing. So his house, would have bathroom inside. He also had electricity all around the house, and he had steam heat. So this was... Yeah, it was super huge. Yeah, when I looked this up about the electricity in the area for homes, so most homes in Arkansas did not have electricity even until the 1930s. So 50 years. And it said that maybe before the 1930s, only 2% of the homes had electricity before 1930. So if you look at that perspective, that's just, so yeah. Can you imagine not having electricity?
No, not at all. Yeah,
Gosh.
not at all.
especially in our heat. Okay, let's not even think. I'm gonna start whining just thinking about it. So, so some of the notable features of the home was like he had beautiful oak parquet floors, a wraparound porch, a small paned windows, and an interior stained glass skylight, and all is there still, and we'll talk about that. The home also had a very irregular floor plan, and it consisted of 7,200 square feet. So that's huge, and it was 2.5 stories, and with the tower, so it also has like a third. It calls it 3.5 stories. And some of the video, I did watch a lot of videos and articles on it, and some people were stating that this was 4-story home, but me and you can attest that,
it's just 3.
It's 3. So, but from what this says, it calls it 3.5 stories because it does have a tower room. So, and you can, we will fully discuss that third tower coming. Okay. So,
yeah.
Yes. So the house, like we talked about, so the house was actually finished, it says in 1888. So they did start in 1881, and then it finished in 1888. And many of the articles were written in the newspaper at that time, so basically once the house was finished, the Arkansas, like the Democrat, it said the Arkansas Gazette at that time was posting all kinds of articles, which was, showing Hornibrook's wealth. Like he was extremely wealthy and extremely noticed around town, okay? And I think he liked that. So shortly after the home was finished, James and Margaret's daughter, Leslie, she married a man named Nicholas, I think it's P-E-A-Y. There's several in Little Rock, I believe, even still, but it looked
Is
like...
it Pie?
Pie? Maybe it's Pie. It looked
Pie.
like his... Pie?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Someone will tell us.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Phone us in, guys. Okay,
Someone will tell us how horribly wrong we were at pronouncing that.
Yeah. I can't wait. Okay, it looked like his father was a highly decorated major and an alderman in Little Rock. So he was, they were highfalutin as far as everyone that they mingled with. And it said that the wedding that they had was inside the house, and the Arkansas Gazette would describe the event as extremely spacious and elegant with very sophisticated taste. So kind of furthering the whole Hornibrook's wealth and status type of thing. So about a year or so after the wedding, James Hornibrook would be found dead right beside his grand home. So according to articles, on May 23rd, 1890, he had spent a very pleasant day with his family. He was, just hanging out with his family all day. Later on that afternoon, he went downtown with his daughter Maggie, and they stopped in the saloon and started to socialize with people. And evidently Maggie went on and found her way back home. It doesn't mention, her staying up all night. But evidently James decided to really go out, go all out, and he partied. So he stayed, late at his saloon all throughout the evening and into the next morning. So it said that he was making his way home with a few other men. 2 of them were employees, and they left the saloon for home about 3 a.m. So it said that they all took the streetcar, and so they all kind of went in different directions, but one of the men actually saw James actually enter his gate to his house. So he saw him, home basically. So as soon as that man left, it said that, evidently right after that, James suffered a fatal apoplectic stroke. Sorry, I can't even say that. Apoplectic stroke and collapsed. I had to look up what apoplectic stroke was, and
What is it?
Basically it's just a stroke, but it's more of one of, apoplectic is more very angry, furious, is kind of the meaning of apoplectic. And I guess it means it was a very strong and sudden stroke. And so it kind of happened and he was gone. He collapsed, he was gone. So his body would be found a few hours later by a young delivery boy who then alerted the household staff. So it said that Maggie ran out and moved his body to the porch, but it was too late. Like, he had already passed. So he was only 49 years old.
Oh, wow.
He was, yes. So in May that year, it was May when he passed, so he wouldn't have been 50 until July. So July would have been his 50th birthday. So, and some say James' spirit never left the house. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so after James' death, so they did bury James. In fact, we went by his grave, and it is in the Mount Holly Cemetery. Is that right there on Broadway? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's right off Broadway.
So me and Amber went out there on Saturday morning, and it is just such a beautiful cemetery. So we did check out his whole gravesite, and he's literally like right at the beginning, to the left, like when you pull in one of the drives. So he's just right at the front, and he has a huge like monument for like his family. So it said, so after this happened, Margaret and the family did continue to live in the home for several years, but in July of 1893, so only 3 years later, at the same age as James, so Margaret was 49, she would pass allegedly of a broken heart. Like, this
that's so sad.
Yes, literally in writing. So she had a broken heart. That is so sad. We kind of talked about this before. You know, me and Daryl are going to go together.
Yeah.
So I might die of a broken heart as well. But anyway, so unfortunately, unlike James, there really wasn't any more information on Margaret. So there wasn't like an obituary or anything like that I could find. Like, a lot of information was just about James. So in 1897, so this is 4 years later, the Hornibrook House became the Arkansas Women's College, and it was under the Reverend E.M. Pipkin as a president. So an article in the Gazette, and it's dated back in April of 1899, it praised the college, saying, patronized by the best people, a part of the highest social life of the state capital, a high-grade scholarship, and experienced teachers. This school is destined to become the peer of any in the land, and it is certain that no young woman who once becomes a student there can fail to have within her breast higher ideals of manhood and womanhood, and to go forth into the world better equipped for the changeful vicissitudes of life. The college remained in the house for a few years, so from 1897, but then in 1900, so this is just a mere 3 years later, the home was purchased by a Colonel Aspie S. Fowler and his wife, Rosa Fowler. So Colonel Fowler was employed as a general agent for the Massachusetts Mutual Life Insurance Company. So from 1902 to 1906, he served as a U.S. Marshal for the Eastern District of Arkansas. So he was a very busy man. So marshals represent the federal government on the regional and local levels and handle the business of U.S. district courts, so at that time. So the Fowlers remained in the house, it says, for many years. The Colonel Fowler lived there until his death in 1922. So they lived there about 22 years. And it said Mrs. Fowler lived there until 1930, when she moved to a smaller home. And evidently she died a few years later after she moved in 1933. So according to city directories, the Hornibrook house actually sat vacant from 1930 to 1938. And then from 1939 to 47, the house was occupied by kind of a variety of tenants and was reportedly used as a rooming house for women during World War II. So many of whom worked at the ordnance plant in Jacksonville at the time. So it was just kind of a boarding house. So in 1947, a Miss Claire Freeman purchased the house and turned it into a nursing home. So it is listed as the Claire Freeman Nursing Home. Their nursing home,
how'd they get up and down those stairs?
We will talk about that. So, because I really think, like, later on it does discuss how the house was taken. Like, obviously the house went through many different things, but the house did at one point have an elevator.
Really?
So I really think that was probably in the nursing home era that they did put in an elevator, because they really weren't clear about that. But the nursing home actually remained until at least 1967. And then in 1970, a Bill and Eugenia Brown purchased the house from Freeman. So lots going on. I mean, this is an old house. Crazy. So in the fall of 1973, Bill and Eugenia Brown opened the house as a home for disabled adults and the elderly. So the Browns lived in an apartment upstairs and provided like meals and assistance to the people staying in the house. And again, some point during this time, whether it was the Freeman nursing home or the Browns boarding house, the elevator was added to the property sometime during either, between that 1930s to 1970 section. So we're really not sure. There wasn't like an actual, evidence on that. So now, in 1991, so Bob and Sharon Blair, and Sharon is Welch Blair, and that'll kind of show up a little bit later in our conversation, but they purchased the house in 91. So at that time, the house was like in total disrepair. So the house had been left vacant. Evidently, there were like homeless people sleeping in the house. Like there was just people like, what do you call that? When people just stay there.
Yeah. Squatters?
There's like a word for it. Squatters, yes. Like it just had squatters going on. So, and like I said, over the years, it went from being like the college, the nursing home, at some point.
So there was a lot happening in this house, a lot of different types of energy. That's interesting.
Oh, yes. And I would imagine a lot of different types of death, too, I would
Probably
think.
so.
So it did say, at some points during the history that it had been rental property and it was like one bedroom apartment. So it was all sectioned off. So over the years, it had many, many additions. It had walls that were added, the bathroom, the elevator, like all these things had changed, the kitchen. So it had a lot going on. So it said that the Blairs spent an extensive time and effort to find the original floor plan of the house. So they very much wanted to restore the house back to the original footprint that the Hornibrook Mansion had. So in all of its glorious Victorian, splendor, okay? That was their focus. So according to the new owners, which me and Amber did meet, so of course, we did, book and stay there. What night did we stay? Friday night. So Friday night we did stay there. So the owner that we met, because it stated that the owners are Antonio and Keith. So we did meet Antonio, and according to him, the Blairs had spent $2 million. So, and
wow.
I did also watch a YouTube video, and it was actually of the Blairs' granddaughter named Jackie. Like she was like an innkeeper there, and she was kind of running like a ghost tour of the house for these YouTubers. So she had stated, the project took 2+ years, and it was just, she stated, thousands of dollars of bank loans and just almost bankrupted the family. Like they were, it was just a big, huge ordeal. So the actual house would have been finished around 1993 into 1994. So once the renovations were completed, the Blairs opened the house up as the Empress of Little Rock Bed and Breakfast. So that's where the name came from.
Okay. It didn't come till the 90s.
Yes, we're talking, so this whole time, I guess the house was just either known as nothing or known as the Hornibrook House or Hornibrook Mansion. So yes. And so when they opened the Empress up, they offered like luxurious accommodations, and it was a bed and breakfast, and they, it was a lot of, I saw the video in 2018, and it was very different from me and you saw. So I do think the recent owners, Antonio and Keith, have really added all of what I would say the color, like the wallpaper, or not the wallpaper per se, but like the wall colors and a lot of the antiques that are there now. So I really think that's a lot of Antonio and them.
Mm-hmm.
So the Blairs also lived in the house. So they not only ran the hotel, but they lived there. And so even when they were in the middle of the renovations, so that's when the house began showing signs of the paranormal. Okay. So up until the Blairs going, there really wasn't like, they created the Empress, hotel bed and breakfast, but also there wasn't really any haunting or any type of, unless it was like word on the street type of situation. So
Right.
according to a YouTube video in October of 2018, which, like I mentioned, featured Jackie, the Blair's granddaughter, that worked there. So she was giving the haunted tour. So she was outlining first in the video all the renovations that they did. They basically put the walls back in place. They put the bathrooms back in place. They removed the elevator. Like, they put everything back in place. And they did keep as much as the original as they could. So they only repaired what they had to. But she just showed all the lavish woodwork, which, everyone, please go to our Facebook page to check out our pictures, and we will be posting, again once this episode drops. But, she shows the double, what do you call that? The double staircase, and she just goes through everything that the family did. So she did also state that she personally did not have any personal experiences of haunting, but her family certainly did. So one of the very first things that happens, so she does tell a lot of stories in the video, but in 1993, a young painter named Timmy had an incident in the third floor tower, which the third floor tower, like, it is an attic. So you basically go up this little staircase, which I basically pushed Amber up it. Okay.
Yeah.
And you go up there to the second level and describe it, Amber. Tell them about that. Once you get up the stairs.
Well, it's just an attic.
Yes.
It's a creepy.
And it's creepy.
It's a creepy attic. It looks like one you'd see on a movie. There's at least one room hidden off to the side that I guess goes into this tower area, and I guess they call that the card room.
Yes, they called it the card room.
Yeah, we spent a little time in there, and it's really neat.
It is really neat. So, allegedly, James Hornibrook had created that room. That room is tower shaped. I guess it's octagonal on the outside, but it is like a tower situation, and it has stained glass like all the way around. And basically, he created that room to kind of have a little hidden place from the family, I guess. Like, it said that he played cards with his friends. They drank cards, whatnot. But you would have had to go through the whole house in order to get to this third floor. But yeah, that attic is like something from, don't you think it feels like something from like the Conjuring movies?
That's exactly what I was thinking. That's what it reminded me of, is the attic scene from the Conjuring.
Yeah, like I said, we'll try to post more. I think I have a video and such that we can post. But yeah, it was definitely, and it was like you go up the stairs and it's like hot. But when you get into the card room, luckily the card room is air conditioned.
Yeah, it is. It's a nice little comfortable room.
Yes, it is. Like, very, it's not huge. Like, how big do you think the room is? Like 10 by 10?
Probably, yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's not very big, but it has like a table and chairs, and it's a card room. So Timmy was in this room. So he was said to be working on staining all of the walls. It's all stained wood up there, and he was also having to stain the doors. And so evidently he had ran out of stain, and so he left. He went out to get more stain, and when he came back, the door was shut. Okay, so the door had been open.
That's scary.
I know. The door was now shut. And at that time, the weird part about this too was there was not like a latch. There was not a doorknob because he was staining the door.
So he took it off.
Yes, he had removed that hardware. So he could not budge that door. Like, it was closed, like locked. Like, he was locked out. So he left and went back downstairs to get like a tool, like a screwdriver or something. So when he came back up, the door was open. And then
oh my goodness.
Yes, and then he noticed. And you know how...
I'm glad I'm hearing this after I'd stayed the night there. I like hearing these stories, but after the fact.
Yeah, me too, because we were all up in there. So he walked up there, and so standing there is an image of a very fancily dressed man in a hat, and it freaked him out so badly that he left and never went back upstairs. Like, he refused to finish. Like, he was like, I'm done.
Like, when you say handsomely dressed with a hat, are we talking like Curious George, the man with the hat? Are we talking about 1800s man with the hat?
1800s. I'll kind of find a pic, because I was trying to kind of see. So basically, it sounded like the description of Hornibrook himself. And we did kind of post a picture, but like...
There's a very eerie photo of him downstairs. On the second floor?
Oh, the downstairs
the first floor.
Yes.
When you first walk in, when you first walk in the door through the front door, and then go...
it's in the hallway, right?
It's in the hallway, yes.
It's kind of across from one of the stairways, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's the same one you can find online, so it's a pretty, it's one that people have used before for different things, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably so. And I think that's the one, like when you look up his grave or obituary, I think that's the one that they have. But in that picture, it does show him very fancily dressed, so he definitely was. Now, he wasn't wearing a hat, so that was interesting. A lot of people put a lot of emphasis on the hat for some reason. So this will come up once more. So after that incident, kind of likewise, Sharon herself was, I guess they had only owned the place for a month. And so she was kind of walking around the house, and she was just kind of, it was like one of those things where you're kind of regretting what you've done.
Yeah.
I think it was one of those things. Yeah, me too. So it's kind of like, I bought this. I'm spending a lot of money. This is a lot more than there's probably things that were creeping up as far as in the house that like they probably didn't even plan on. So, and they're spending just gobs of money. So she's kind of walking around, and she did say she just felt really uneasy in the house, and it was always like there was always cold spots. So she was feeling uneasy, cold spots. She felt really unwelcomed in the house, like almost like the house was just not liking her. So it was just causing her to be like, what have we done?
Yeah.
So her husband, Bob, so he did have kind of several experiences. Bob had, like, one day him and Sharon were in the house, and one of the experiences was like he all of a sudden out of the corner of his eyes would see like just kind of shifts. Like it would just kind of be like kind of like he would see an image and then it wasn't there, So he was seeing several things, but one of the stories was also in 1993. So they were in the midst of the remodel. The contractor had actually removed the front doors, and this front door, like, it curves. It's such a neat foyer. Like, the foyer itself, I guess, is maybe part of the tower area of the house, and so it kind of curves. So the doors and even the glass on the doors is curved. So these are, I can't even imagine, like, fixing these doors or having anything to do with these doors, but they're crazy. So the contractor had removed the front doors, and there was just like a large black plastic tarp over the whole entryway. So Bob was really concerned about the house being left open. And so he decided that he would stick around because everyone else had left. And the house was, like, all of a sudden super quiet. No workers were going on. It was just eerie. He was just by himself, and he was in the foyer. And so it was hot. This is June of 93, okay? So you know how it is. I'm sure they didn't have the air on yet. It was very hot. He was starting to break a sweat. Like, he was starting to sweat. But then all of a sudden there was just like this cold Arctic whoosh. Like, it just came from within the house, like, and it just fully went over him like it was going out the door. And as soon as he felt that Arctic burst of air, he immediately turned around and saw a very well-dressed man in what they called a Homburg hat. So I'll try to post this but that was just a type of hat. It was a very nice hat, evidently. It was a very nice wool hat that men in the late 1800s would have worn, okay? So it was a very well-dressed man, and he felt like the man, like this is Bob saying this, he felt like Hornibrook himself was telling him to remember whose house it was. So
okay.
That's how Bob felt. That was the impression that Bob was getting. Like it was Hornibrook, like being like,
hey, look at me and my big hat.
Yes, and look at me, I'm so fancy.
Yeah.
I really feel a connection to Hornibrook and his fanciness, okay?
It was a fancy place, I'll tell you that. It really was.
It is very, very fancy. So Jackie, again, the granddaughter, is still talking. So she mentioned that the house, after all of these incidences, they would have the house blessed in 1995. Okay?
Blessed
so
by who?
A priest.
Okay.
I'm guessing. She just said blessed. So even so, the stories persisted. So this is after 95. So there was a guest that came downstairs to breakfast in around 1997. So this is just some of the, I mean, there are tons of stories. So these are just some of the stories that Jackie passed on. But after staying the night on the second floor, so they were staying in the second floor where we were, they said that there was, this lady came down to breakfast and was telling the whole table, of people that there was tons of activity in the house and that they had a lot of spirits in the house. And that she said that she was very aware of spirits. So this woman, this guest, said that she saw a large woman, and like as in tall. I don't think she meant anything else by it. I think she said meant tall. But she said a large woman in pink that was 30 to 35 years old. She also said that there were bursts of cold spots, like I guess in her room, and all night long she could smell like the smell of cigars, but no one was allowed to smoke. Like no one was allowed to smoke there. She also said all night long there were footsteps all around, like outside the room, above her, and she could hear children playing all night long. She said
that's creepy.
Mm-hmm. She said finally around 3 a.m. the noises finally stopped. So it was just all night when she was trying to sleep. So Jackie also, and at that time they really weren't pleased. Like the Blairs were kind of like, oh. Like they had their own activity, but they really weren't touting the fact that the place was haunted. Like that really wasn't something that they were taunting at that time, Touting, yes. Thank you. So I'm tired. So
I know.
So Jackie also told about a story that was actually by her mom. So her mom had told her the story. And Jackie did say that she was born in 1996. Is that not depressing?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And then, so this happened when Jackie was 3. So this would have been 1999 when we were graduating high school. Mm-hmm. And so she said that Bob and Sharon actually needed Jackie's mom to come stay the night at the house because they were going to be out of town. But there were some guests that would be staying there. So, of course, they needed someone to work, the place. So Jackie and her mom shared one of the bedrooms on the second floor. And her mom's name, I guess, was Wendy. She said Wendy. So evidently in the night, Jackie's mom said she was wakened to a large woman in pink hovering
what?
This is what they said. Kind of towering. So a large woman in pink hovering close to where Jackie was. So this is like her mom saying this woman was hovering over Jackie as a baby, okay? Jackie was like a toddler.
Oh.
So she was like, it looked like the woman was going to pick Jackie up. And
Aw.
yes.
She probably just like kids.
Yeah. Well, that's what they're thinking. So Wendy, of course, was super scared, super not happy about all this, but they thought that perhaps this woman was Margaret because they said Margaret had so many girls, which in this, she did say that Margaret had 3 girls, which was not true. Margaret had two girls, the rest were sons. But Jackie stated that they had more than that. But they were thinking, well, maybe she just wanted to take care of Jackie. But it freaked Wendy out. Like Wendy didn't.
I would say so.
Yeah, I would not be happy if I saw some large spirit thing.
You know what I was picturing? Do you remember
What?
No, do you remember
pink.
the singing woman on Harry Potter where she sings and breaks the glass? That's what I was picturing. Isn't she in pink?
For some reason, I don't know why, I thought we were talking about Moaning Myrtle. For some reason, I don't know why. But she wasn't in pink, but yes. I get what you're talking about. Okay, so yeah. So
I'm looking at a picture of her. She didn't seem like a large woman unless she got large later in life.
Who are we talking about? Margaret?
Yeah,
Margaret didn't look large. And I don't know, some of the articles I read said large and some of them said tall. So, but most of the
Maybe
stories
she was
said
tall.
large.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she was tall or not.
It's got her death certificate on here and everything on Find a Grave.
Oh, good. Well, I did not see that. Okay, so are you listening?
Well, of course.
Maybe. Okay, the Blairs lived and ran the bed and breakfast. The breakfast.
What?
I have turned into my brother Jeff. Okay, the Blairs lived and ran the bed and breakfast from 1995 until 2019. So in that time frame, obviously they had a lot of stories from themselves and guests and also other people. There was an article by a Jim Weaver, and this was actually written in 22. So he states that he and his wife stayed at the Empress over a long weekend. And he stated that he had heard of the house being haunted by a salty old sea captain. Mm-hmm. Not sure about that.
A salty old sea captain.
Mm-hmm. The woman in pink, and plus people had heard disembodied voices and smells. So he said he and his wife did get hits on the K2, and I meant to look that up. I don't know what a K2 is. But he did say they had voices on their ghost box. So I guess they came with like their paranormal, tools. But he said nothing was definitive.
Maybe we should get some new tools to do that.
Ooh, so, I do have ideas for our new trip, but yes.
Okay. It's called a K2 paranormal meter.
Okay.
Yeah, and and it looks like it's an EMF reader.
Oh, an EMF reader. Okay, and we said that's electronic magnetic field.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. So they came prepared with their tools. So he did also state that the bottom line, the house was beautiful, and it definitely did not disappoint. And me and you can attest that. I mean, the place is just beyond. I mean, it's like, it's just
gorgeous.
Perfect.
I loved it.
I love every bit. So another article whom the author wasn't notated or anything, which I will have all the references posted in our description, but it stated that the Empress was haunted by a well-dressed man who often watches his guest from the top of the staircase. That's not creepy at all.
No.
And then it also mentioned about the woman in pink again, but it didn't call her large this time. And then it said a man resembling a sea captain. So some people are seeing just like a highfalutin, fancy man, and some people are seeing a sea captain man.
Oh, okay.
But it sounds like everybody's seeing this pink woman.
This poor, pitiful pink woman that they're calling large.
Large, tall, whatever. Okay, so, and also...
Maybe it's like Large Marge, She wasn't really large, but they called her Large Marge.
Yeah, maybe
You know who Large Marge is?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes, you do. Large Marge from Pee Wee Herman.
Oh, no. Oh my goodness, I love Pee Wee. Okay, so that there also in this article, it did say a lot of people hear ghostly footsteps that follow you around the house. So I can say when you were on the first floor, like when we were walking around the first floor with the dining room and then it had a card room, like it's definitely on a crawl space. So when you walk, you will hear things. So I don't think that that's definitive of anything other than it's just being like not on concrete. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
To me.
I agree.
Now, when you're on the second floor, that felt more solid. So if people are hearing footsteps above them or like outside their room, because it is carpeted up there too. So if people are hearing footsteps out there, I have no like result for, I mean, I can't think of any reason why that would be, but definitely downstairs on the main floor, you're going to get that movement. It's all the parquet floor, and it's definitely like got some bounce. So, Sharon, it goes on further to say, Sharon described one of her guests reporting hearing footsteps coming towards the room, and then something jiggled, like the actual, I guess they were in one of the guest rooms, and the door jiggled, like the handle jiggled. And
now that's creepy.
Yes, and the door opened, but no one was standing there.
Oh, wow.
So I will go into this. So when me and you stayed there, you know, I mean, I didn't feel like there was anything that I couldn't explain. But in the night, like, me and you were very not good at sleeping. So we were up a lot between a certain person snoring and...
Sorry about that.
And I moan in my sleep, so that's alarming.
That is very alarming, especially, yeah, never mind. That is just very alarming.
You were like, Lisa, are you okay? Like, you were so concerned. And then at one point, I do get up a lot in the night. Like, I go to the bathroom, I wander around. So around 3 o'clock, I got up, and you got up. You're like, Lisa, and I'm like, I'm fine. I'm gonna walk around. And 2 seconds later, like, I had opened the door to go out, like, in the hall or whatever outside of our door, and there was no one upstairs with us. Like, there are four bedrooms. We were
all by ourselves up there, and yeah, it was very quiet.
It was very quiet. Like, you couldn't hear anything. So nobody was there with us. So I was kind of walking around, and then I went back to bed. Well, maybe like an hour later, all of a sudden you go, Lisa! And you're like, are you here? And I'm like, it's me. And I'm like, I've been here for an hour. But you literally, by the time I walked out, you had gone back to sleep. Like, I could hear you snoring. So I was like,
I remember you leaving, but I don't remember you coming back. So then when I woke up and you were beside me again, because we had to sleep in the same bed, you know.
We did. We got a king, people.
Yeah, sorry.
It was not large enough.
It was, it was awful. But anyway.
There were no double beds.
Yeah. But, like, you know, I didn't expect you to be back that fast. So I look over, and there's this big, dark figure beside me, and that's when I went, like that, because it scared me. Because I thought I had just seen you leave.
Did you call me big and dark?
No, but I mean, dark.
Hey, it's like this calling her a large lady in pink.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't
but
think
anyway,
that lady. I don't think Margaret was a large lady.
I don't think it's necessarily Margaret. I think
when there is a spirit hovering over you, of course, you're going to think it's large and in charge.
I would think so. But I will say, in the night, I don't know about you, but I did tell you that next morning. I said there was a noise, and it was and to come to think about it, it was like metallic or like metal. Like it only happened once. Like, it didn't happen again, but it was a sound that I couldn't like explain.
I don't remember hearing anything like that. I mean, it was really nice. I wasn't like, I don't know. I wasn't uncomfortable like at all. I figured I would be, because I usually am when I sleep away from home, but I was not uncomfortable. I kind of really liked it. I mean, it was a very nice bed and breakfast. It was
very nice.
Very well taken care of. You know, I thought at least I would feel, you know, a little uneasy.
Like weird.
Because I figured, since we were there, you probably knew of a ghost or two. But I really, you know, I really didn't. You know, I mean, even when we went upstairs really late that night and went into the card room, it still was, it was nothing for me. I didn't see or hear anything.
You didn't feel anything? Well,
nothing.
That was the only like thing I couldn't describe, because the other sound, there was like, it has those, you know, in old houses, like it has those window things that open above doors. So that was kind of happening, like kind of that, you know, the doors were kind of being rocked around or whatever. So those were making noises. But this was like it was almost like jewelry clanging, or like, like something clanging that could, you know, it wasn't like a thud, it wasn't wood, it wasn't a person you know, it was like, I don't know, hardware jewelry, something like that. So it was interesting. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen again because I kind of tried to stay awake and like listen, but it didn't happen again. So, okay. So another article stated that the Hornibrook Mansion is beautiful and rich in history with multiple ghosts. It states that the Hornibrook himself died while playing a game of cards with his friends at the age of 49, and that allegedly Hornibrook had been so worried that he would die young that he had made a death mask of himself like years before he died, and that it was hanging in the hotel.
Oh,
so
gross.
That was in an article. I did not see any type of death mask. If there was a death mask, it was not on display, so I can disprove that. Now,
how common were death masks back then?
I don't really know. I mean, I've heard of them, but I don't know if they were common. Now, I will say Hornibrook was definitely, elaborate and into stuff, so who can say? But, if he did or didn't. But that was in an article, so I did not see anything like that. So another article goes on to say that the guests experience, voices in empty rooms and lots of footsteps in empty hallways. So footsteps, the sea captain, the pink lady, just kind of, these are like over and over again, these stories are coming. So I did look on another YouTube video, which was actually Antonio had told us when we first got there, and I will say, Antonio does not believe in ghosts. He made that quite clear. So he is kind of opposite the Blairs as far as, talking about the house being haunted. Now, he does say people have experiences, and he's like, yeah, that's kind of on them or something. He did not believe in any of that. So he was kind of, just real matter of fact about it. But I did watch a YouTube video, and it was actually, and I'll link it or whatever, but it was about like the restoration of the house. It was more about the house. It had nothing to do with like the haunting. But it did talk about like a person had actually commented on the video and said that they knew someone that lived in the house and that they had told stories of the house. So they said that the person had said that when he lived in the house, he woke up and he was levitating.
Ooh.
And that, yeah, and this is so this was a comment on this video. So he said that a black smoky shadow was sitting in a chair in his mom's room, and she woke up and it beat her, and she screamed out to God to save her, and that all of a sudden there appeared big white wings, and that it covered the shadow, and both were gone. But when she woke up like the next day, she still was covered in bruises, evidently, according to this person.
That's scary.
And yes, and according to this person, the person that they knew that lived there, they said in another occasion something made him fall down the stairs, and he still had like a scar on his face from the fall. So evidently he got pushed or whatever on the stairs. So again, this video had
the only thing crazy. The only thing crazy I would say that happened was I almost inhaled the drapes snoring so loud.
You surely did.
Yeah.
We've discussed that we will get you, what do you call those things?
Breathe right. Yes.
Yes, there you go. Because we're staying at the Arlington on Thursday night, the night of our meet and greet. So just FYI, people. Okay, so in 2019, the Blairs did sell the mansion to the present owners, Antonio and Keith, and we've talked about them and such. So they run it now. That's whom you're going to get in contact with, like when you call the number. In fact, I talked to Antonio right away. So I had like Googled the most haunted place in Little Rock because we haven't done anything in Little Rock. So as far as like episodes, so I really wanted to go this way, and the very first thing that popped up was the Empress Hotel. So it popped up as the most haunted place in Little Rock. So, and I really wanted to do like a haunting because, after we do the murder episodes, I need like a palate cleansing. I need a good murder or a good haunting, Oh, goodness. Well, just the murder brings you down. So, So the most haunted place is the Empress Hotel, Hornibrook Mansion, and that's how it pops up. So I felt like, of course, we had to go stay there. Daryl couldn't. So, yay, I got, Ambi. So I did phone, I looked on the internet and called them. And I always look at pricing and stuff on the internet. And I also look at Priceline people. So just FYI. So I try to get these people to price match and such. But they were the same price. Antonio said it was the same price. So he was at lunch. So he called me back after lunch. And so I mentioned we were with Unexplained Arkansas, the podcast, and the reason for us to come. And so I asked about the best room to stay in because that was very important. And I also said I needed a king-size bed because I already knew that they didn't have, like, double beds. This isn't like your normal, Holiday Inn situation. So I was like, I need a king-size bed because there's two of us, So, and I got to put a pillow between us. So I could already see, what the rooms would be like. So he did state that we could either do the Washburn Welch room. So the Washburn actually comes from Margaret, and then the Welch was Sharon Blair's maiden name, I guess. So that's where that came from. Or there was another room up there that was the Chartenay room suite. So I kind of discussed with him, and he mentioned the Washburn was Mrs. Hornibrook's room. So it wasn't where she died, but he did say a lot of people had activity in the past because that was one of my things too. And it was a very airy room. It had the original tub. And so I could really tell that he liked the Washburn room the best. So I was like, let's do it, So I did really want to stay in the best situation for what we were doing. So the house does have 9 rooms to rent, 5 of which aren't even in the main house. So
yeah,
that
was shocking to me.
I know, because there was we saw 4 or 5 other families, and all of those people were not in the main house. We were the only people on the second floor that night, on Friday night. So, and you can go look into, these rooms in the house, but basically there's a place called the Carriage House, and the Carriage House is right next to the back door of the main house, and it has what's called the Hemingway Spa Suite, and then there's a place called the Cook's Cottage Suite, the Majestic Spa Suite, which is in the Carriage House, the Victoria Garden Suite, and then the Pagoda Suite. So these places are suites. So they're a little bit larger than maybe our rooms were, but our room was huge.
Yeah, it was big. It was so nice.
Yes, and I can't really imagine needing a suite, but there was one couple with their son. So again, some of these rooms are really big, but again, we were the only people actually in the house. So when we checked in, we kind of knew there were other people because we could see Antonio had laid out the keys for the other visitors. So I was just assuming that they would be in the main house. I didn't know at that time how many rooms were actually in the Carriage House. So I was surprised. So anywho, right away, we went and explored the house, and then we went and had a magical dinner, remember?
Yep.
So
I knew it was really good at Capello in North Little Rock.
Yes, it is so good, guys. So shout out to them. So when we got back that night, we did go again up to the 3rd floor. So Amber wanted to take playing cards. So we were going to do that kind of thing where you talk to spirits, quote unquote, allegedly with the playing cards. So we did take the playing cards. And when we opened the pack of playing cards, remember?
Yeah.
There was a note in the playing cards. And it said, and we will post this so you can see that we did not make this up. So it said, to the spirits of the Hornibrook Mansion, we ask you to guide us and help make the right choice on our path. If we are to be here, we ask your blessings. If we are not meant to be here, we ask that you close the path. And this was in the playing card set.
Yeah. It was just some random set that we found on a bottom shelf in the library.
Mm-hmm. By the candlestick.
This whole place gave big Clue vibes.
Clue vibes. It definitely did. But seriously, that note was freaky, was it not?
It really was.
So
that's probably,
later on,
honestly, that's probably the closest I've ever came to being in a house that looked like the movie Clue.
It really did. It is so fabulous. All that dark wood, and
it was gorgeous.
It was so gorgeous. But so later on when we finally like settled into our room and it was deafening and quiet, like no, like I could tell that there was like nobody's television was running, like because there was
It's
like
definitely
so
not the
rooms,
Holiday Inn. So
yeah, it definitely isn't. But every room had like it had a coffee thing, it had cups, it had water, it did have a flat screen TV with a Roku.
mm-hmm.
I always pack my Roku so I can attach it, but this already had the Roku set up, so all I had to do was like sign in. And we watched What Lies Beneath.
Yep, which is one of my favorites.
That is such a good movie. But anyway, so we also DoorDashed some snacks, and I will say this. So I went out. I had to meet the DoorDasher at like the back of the house. So the house is on lockdown and you're not supposed to go out the front door. And so I will say, like, I met the DoorDasher and like I kind of kept the door open and he was kind of talking to me and I told him, you know, about the podcast, of course. And he's like, ooh, I have to check that out. I was like, oh, and you need to stay here. He was like, this place is awesome. Like, he didn't even know. The DoorDasher didn't even know. But Antonio was like right there behind me to lock up.
Oh, wow.
Like all of a sudden he appeared. Did it freak me out a little? Maybe. What did we DoorDash? Cheetos and water.
Cheetos and water.
I'm telling all of our stories. Yeah. So again, I did walk around about 3 a.m. like I do. Did I walk downstairs? Maybe. I walked around the second floor and then I did go down the staircase. So, and Amber was just enjoying herself. And then we woke up and had an amazing breakfast. They do an amazing breakfast on the porch and it was just amazing. So, I'll just premise this with, is it haunted? I feel like the signs point to yes. I feel like that they're, I mean, not that we obviously had a lot of stuff going on. Obviously we didn't, but there's been so many reports.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's that many crazy people, you know?
I mean, there has been a lot of people that have said they have seen something or heard something. So yeah, I would say there, you know, it's a possibility. But of course, I didn't see anything myself, hear anything myself.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely a beautiful place. I've heard a lot of people had posted that they spent their honeymoon there, and I can see that. Like, it's very romantic. Like, I mean, was it romantic for me and Amber? No, but we had an awesome girls' night. We had an amazing girls' night. We also ate chocolate, and we did a face mask that burned the crap out of my face. And yeah, it was just lovely. It was a lovely experience. I will definitely want to stay there again. Like, it was just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it really was. I loved it.
So yeah. And next time, so yeah, that's everything I have. I don't know about you, but I was going to talk about this week. So
okay,
anything?
Nope, you covered everything. It was a really
and
cool
the kitchen sink.
Yep, it was a really cool experience. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really did too, and it was very interesting hearing about the Hornibrooks. And it looks like there are still a lot of Hornibrooks actually in the Little Rock area. I may or may not have Facebooked one of them. I still haven't heard back, so time will tell.
Yeah.
so yes, but it was really cool. So this upcoming week on Thursday, so tonight is Monday, and on Thursday and 3 more nights, we're going to be at the Arlington. 6 to 8 p.m. is our meet and greet, and then we are hanging out, and we're going to have another one of our adventures, and we're going to do another episode.
Yep.
Covering the history, the hauntings, and of course our experience at the Arlington.
Yep. For sure.
But this time we're going to be prepared because I have ideas, Amber.
Oh, I thought you were just going to say we're going to bring a Breathe Right strip.
Oh, well, we're definitely packing a Breathe Right strip. We're packing Cheetos.
Yep. All the
we'll make
necessities.
Sure we've got water. Yeah. So yay.
Okie dokie.
So
All
that's
right.
my
awesome.
episode.
Well, that was really interesting. I did not know any of that. And, until I saw it for the first time, I've just driven past that area and never really, spent a whole lot of time thinking about it. So yeah, that's a lot of really good new information.
Yay.
Yeah.
Well, it was a lot of really new information for me too.
Awesome.
So,
okie dokie.
and some of which I'm glad I didn't know until today.
Yeah. I'm just glad I didn't know about the haunting stuff until after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
That's always better for me.
like the creepy Arctic air and the man in the hat and the fancy clothes.
Yeah, I kept thinking about the sea captain from The Simpsons. So, yeah.
That's where you go?
That's where I went.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Well, I would love to hear if anyone's had their own experiences at the Hornibrook Mansion, Empress, bed and breakfast, whatever. So it's got many a name.
Yep.
So let us know. So,
Yep.
yay.
All right. Well, we will have another episode coming up next week. Y'all have a great day.
Yay. Love ya. Bye.